Now, Switzerland is an extremely small country, and I'm going to use another Australian comparison, I'm sorry, but if you were to take Switzerland, which is a small little country, and if you were to take all the mountains and make them flat, so the entire land surface of Switzerland, if you were to make that flat, is almost as big as Australia. That's how many mountains there are, that's how many mountain peaks there are, okay? And because they have all these mountains, if you were to go back 500 years ago, Switzerland was extremely remote, and it was hard for each group to go and communicate with the next town. So what they would do from one mountainside, they would communicate with the next mountain village on the other side by singing to each other. And do you know what that singing was? Yodeling. Can you? Oh, you can all yodel? Yodel. So that's where yodeling came from. They were trying to communicate from one village to the next. Now, what happened is, if you were typing an internet address for Switzerland, you know how for the UK you put .uk, for Australia it's .au, for Malaysia it's .my, okay, for Switzerland it's .ch. That sounds strange because it's Switzerland. The reason being is that the official name is the Confederate of Helvetica. Alright, so what happened, if you were to go back about 600 years ago, you had two major empires over in France to one side of Switzerland, and over in the eastern side you had the strong Austrian Empire, and they both wanted to invade Switzerland. So always these tiny little mountain communities were getting invaded. So what they decided to do was to get together to form a confederacy. Okay, much like eventually the United States did, you had these individual little areas, they're called cantons or states. They got together to form a union so they could fight against the Austrians and the French. They were extremely successful and they won many major battles, and eventually more and more cantons groups joined up, and you had what is modern day the size of Switzerland. And they were very good at fighting for just a small little nation, but unfortunately about the 1500s they started suffering several military defeats, and they decided that fighting wasn't they didn't like fighting after that. So from that period on, Switzerland has really remained neutral. They haven't been involved in many wars at all, and they haven't been directly involved in any war since the 1850s.